Hey, what's up guys? How are you doing? Me?
I'm doing well.
I'm doing well, thanks for asking. In my hiatus, I have been noticing some pretty interesting trends that could mean hyperpop, or rather, a few select artists, could see a major surge in popularity soon. First, I want to talk about Trippie Redd's newest album, Trip at Night. But before we talk about it, let's listen to it real quick. Yeah, every song sounds about the same. They all use these video game sounding synth melodies, and obviously this isn't hyperpop, but some people might go as far to call it something like hyper trap or something like that. Well, fans of this sound most commonly refer to it as rage beats, and we can trace the beginning of the popularity of rage beats to Playboi Carti's Whole Lotta Red. And while we're talking about Whole Lotta Red, I want to take this time to apologize for this video. Whole Lotta Red is going to be an album we call a classic within the next 5 or 10 years. But back to Trip at Night, very big artists like Lil Uzi Vert and Drake are featured on the album, which is going to expose even more people to rage beats and possibly to the SoundCloud hyperpop scene and similar artists. Who is like the biggest artist ever. He's recently been referencing rising artist Yeet on his Instagram, who has been seeing his songs Sorry About That, Mad About That, and Get Busy go viral. Another little side note is that recently Glaive had one of his music videos directed by Cole Bennett and featured on Lyrical Lemonade, a channel which could be partially attributed for some of the success of artists like Juice WRLD and Ski Mask the Slump God and other artists from the mumble rap SoundCloud scene. And maybe we could see the same thing happen for the SoundCloud hyperpop scene. The thing that I am most excited to talk about though is Lady Gaga's new remix album, Dawn of Chromatica. Gaga, instead of enlisting mainstream artists to make as much money as possible, instead brought on a whole bunch of experimental and hyperpop artists to do whatever they wanted with their songs. The credits on this album are astonishing as it features such names as Cuckoo Chloe, Arca, Rina Sawayama, Charlie XCX, A.G. Cook, Ash Nico, Shy Girl, DOS, Dorian Electra, Lil Texas, Mood Killer, Chester Lockhart, Bree Runway, Jimmy Edgar, and more. Obviously, most people who listen to this are probably going to be turned away after hearing the Stupid Love and Rain on Me remixes early on in the track list, but some will be introduced to new artists they didn't know they could love before. I think everyone did a pretty great job as well. I love the Mételo Sácalo breakdown on the Arca remix, the way Pablo Vittar transforms Fun Tonight into this sort of calypso banger. Charlie and A.G. Cook, you can't go wrong with that on 911, and Dorian adds a sweet metal touch to Replay. This was so cool of Lady Gaga to do, giving some underground artists a chance to see a mainstream audience. I want to end the video off on another little side note, and that is Charlie XCX, who is hot off her new single, Good Ones, which you might notice is not as experimental as her work off of How I'm Feeling Now or Charlie. But the marketing is pretty interesting as she seems to be taking a mainstream approach for her last album with Atlantic Records as sort of a protest against the label. In the music video, she poses on her grave, possibly showing we'll see another evolution from her on her next album. I wouldn't expect her to completely ditch the hyperpop PC music aesthetic, but rather focus more on making chart music for the next album, which could boost her fan base a little bit, and maybe these fans will listen to her old music and realize they like it, and thus might fall into the PC music pipeline that I'm sure many of us have fallen into before.